Monster Month continues with some more Creepshow. Last time in part 1 I explained what this show was all about, so we won't waste any time explaining it all over again, and I covered 4 different stories. Gray Matter, about a young boy whose dad was transforming into a monster after drinking a bad beer. The House of the Head, where a mysterious head appears inside a dollhouse. Bad Wolf Down, a World War II tale involving werewolves. And The Finger, a story about a vicious little creature that would do anything for its owner. In part 2 we're going to cover the next 4 Creepshow stories, but before we get into it, I'd like to go ahead and introduce my Patreon page. If you'd like to help support the channel and allow me to continue creating content like this, you can become a patron for as little as $1 a month by clicking on the link in the description or heading over to patreon.com/GamerThumbTV. And for their continued support, I'd also like to thank my current patrons and channel members listed in the description below. Welcome to Creepshow the Series, Part 2.
Trick or treat, asshole.
Story number 5, All Hallows Eve. What a great title for an episode based completely around Halloween. All Hallows Eve is your ghostly tale of revenge, where a victim is wronged, and the spirit comes back for justice of its own. But it doesn't really feel like it at first. It almost feels more similar to something like The Purge at the beginning, although on a much smaller scale. It takes place on Halloween night, and a group of friends that call themselves the Golden Dragons are trick-or-treating together in the neighborhood, and I love seeing this simple thing happening in movies and shows. It's so nostalgic for me. Since when I was a kid, I always went trick-or-treating with a group of friends every year, until of course I got too old for it. But it seems that nowadays, every year, it feels like I see less and less kids trick-or-treating. But something isn't quite right in this town. It's a bit too quiet considering that it's Halloween. People even close their windows when they see the Golden Dragons walk by. One of the kids, Peter, stops by the local cemetery where his little brother Skeeter was oddly waiting by himself. And the adults in the town just absolutely hate these kids. They do not want to give them candy.
Trick or treat, Mr. Boner.
Dear God, not you. Here, take it all. Take it.
Suckers? This what you think of us, Boner, huh? Suckers? Oh, dear.
Come on, guys. It's enough. Leave him alone.
Yeah, Jill's right. Vicky, let's go.
This is honestly one of my least favorite episodes, though, based on the interactions the Golden Dragons have with the adults. It made the final twist fairly predictable from the beginning. I saw it coming from a mile away. And not a whole lot really happens. They just kind of walk around the neighborhood and people are shown being terrified of them. It's just not that entertaining of an episode. At first you do feel kind of bad for them because nobody really likes them. But as the episode goes on, it's clear that they're well known and they're really up to no good.
Every year you just keep coming back. You destroy our lives. He was our only son. Our only boy.
First it was the Smiths, then the Kittners, then the Boatners. Last year was us. Who's next, you psychotic little bastards? When will you stop?
They don't interact kindly with anybody. And they don't only take candy from residents, they also barge into people's homes, essentially terrorizing the neighborhood. Some residents even go as far as hiding family members from them.
Is Eddie home? Mrs. Hathaway?
No.
You sure about that?
He went to his grandparents.
Where's Eddie, Mrs. Hathaway?
I said, get out now!
Well, it turns out their crimes have some sort of justification. The Golden Dragons originally had their own little clubhouse where they would gather and hang out with each other, and here come the neighborhood assholes walking over to cause trouble with a Halloween prank. A prank that went horribly wrong. Turns out the Golden Dragons are actually all dead, and they've returned from beyond to take their sweet vengeance on the neighborhood bullies that caused their demise. They've been taking them from their families one by one, killing them, and in order to break the cycle of revenge and rest in peace, they have to find and the final bully, Eddie. And it's actually kind of amusing how his mom, she just lets him go like, oh, sorry, but you gotta go, bye. There's really no effort to keep him alive.
It's no good, Eddie. They'll just keep coming back.
I am innocent! Mom! Don't let them do this,
They'll
please!
find us everywhere we go.
Don't let them do this! Get off of me! Mom! Help me, please! Hey!
Oh, and you also get a good look at Skeeter's face, which is completely covered the whole time, or lack of a face.
Oh, God! Oh, my God! Oh, my... You can't get away with this!
Why not, Eddie? You did.
With the death of Eddie, their revenge is satisfied. They all say goodbye to each other and go back to their graves. Like I mentioned before, not one of my favorite episodes. By Creepshow standards, I'm used to seeing these completely insane, over-the-top scenarios, and this was just your average ghost story overall. I've seen stories like this in so many other Halloween specials. Even the movie Trick or Treat, which I love, has something similar to it, with trick-or-treaters returning from the dead. But on to the next story. Story number 6, The Man in the Suitcase. Another one of my favorites, and it does have that over-the-top Creepshow ridiculousness. The Man in the Suitcase ends up being a commentary on human greed and learning a valuable lesson. The lesson of money being the root of all evil. It's about a young man called Justin. This kid has nothing going on in his life. He's the stereotypical loser. He's unmotivated to do anything worthwhile in life. He's always fighting with his seemingly on and off girlfriend Carla. This episode really has no likable characters at all. They're all fairly terrible people. But that's purposely part of the story. In the beginning of the episode, he's just arriving at the airport after flying back home and he grabs a suitcase. But something is unusual. His stuff isn't inside of it, and sounds are coming from within. He thinks at first it's his friend and roommate Alex messing with him, but then discovers something that will change his life.
What the hell, man?
Please turn my face out of my suitcase so I may speak clearly.
What?
I thought this was hilarious. This is where the episode gets completely absurd. This man is stuffed inside the suitcase so tightly that it's just impossible to get him out of there. He claims that someone did that to him. It looks like every bone in his body is completely crushed to fit him inside. He's really jammed in there. And then Justin starts telling the man all about his life troubles, and he wants to hear none of it.
Cyborg.
It's very interesting.
Which I think is going to his head, really, because now he's mopping up the court with everybody and talking smack about it, but not in a funny way.
Excuse me, please. I do not mean to interrupt, but I am in a great degree of pain and I cannot give your schoolyard drama the attention I am certain that it deserves.
Like any normal person would do, Justin tries to help him out, and this is where the weirdness really goes from 0 to 100. And that is the main premise of this story. These coins. A coin magically flies out of the man in the suitcase. He has some sort of condition that makes him produce gold when he feels pain. Something truly unbelievable. Justin can't stop thinking about what the hell is going on. He's paranoid that people are going to come looking for this man and imagines men in black coming in and lighting him up. On the other hand, he also has to deal with his mysterious coin that came out of nowhere, and it turns out that it's worth way more than he thought.
Well, what you got here is a gold 100 Karush coin from the time of Abdul Amin II.
Is it valuable?
You heard me say it was gold, right? Of course it's valuable.
I found it in some luggage.
Nice. How about I give you $275?
So like any young adult would do, he immediately tells his friend about the coin, but not the entire truth, and on the way back home, Justin's girlfriend Carla comes out terrified. She found the man in the suitcase, and she's convinced that Justin's a murderer. She thinks he killed this man and stuffed him in the suitcase, so it was time to show them the truth.
Fuck was that?
This is where the lesson in the story begins, advising against human greed. These kids become the ultimate assholes. They realize that the more pain the man in the suitcase goes through, the more coins he produces. Seemingly endless amounts of coins just continuously pour out of him. So they decide to torture him all day in and day out. Stepping on him, buying expensive clothes, pulling out his teeth. They begin living completely different lifestyles. There is nothing redeemable about these characters, especially with Alex and Carla, who took it to another level and are actually sleeping together behind Justin's back. But Justin does see the light eventually. They have a car battery hooked up to the man and they keep shocking him, and that's the point where Justin just finally realizes that this is wrong. He just can't keep doing this. Carla and Alex are completely money drunk, and Justin just wants to be done with it all. He wants to call the police, tell them what happened, but Carla and Alex decide to cross into the territory of murder. And now the truth is revealed when the man in the suitcase starts laughing maniacally.
Oh no, please don't. You naughty children. You're so naughty. How will this world contain your wickedness? Yes! Yes! Yes!
The man in the suitcase is actually a freaking genie. He looks awesome. He's not the nice blue joke-cracking Aladdin-style genie. He's this giant neon purple monster with glowing eyes and sharp teeth. This is quite possibly my favorite Creepshow monster of all time. The kids are screaming in terror. He wanted them to do this. It was all a lesson to teach these naughty, greedy kids. Justin actually survived, and the genie left him a note that if he ever needed anything again, he would be there, seemingly earning himself his own genie. As far as Alex and Carla, they're now trapped in suitcases of their own. You may question how the genie would get away with this at the airport, but he's been doing this for a while with some help.
First class, window seat, arriving Istanbul at 9:30 a.m.
And you're quite certain you'll be able to accommodate my bags?
For a customer as loyal as you, anything.
The Man in the Suitcase is an absolutely awesome episode, and I think it's actually the one that I've rewatched the most times. It's so satisfying seeing the terror in Alex and Carla's face when they realize, whoops, it was a monster genie we were torturing. Story number 7, The Companion. Whereas The Man in the Suitcase was a story about characters doing something for selfish reasons, The Companion is a story about a man doing something simply to cope with loss. The Companion deals with the fear of loneliness and how it can make people do crazy things, and it also has a sort of anti-bullying message mixed in as well. It starts out with a boy named Harry that's sitting in a creek by himself with some visible cuts and bruises. His older brother Billy beats him up. He's the definition of a bully that takes things too far, and Harry's friend Smitty finds him, and this kid is barely in this episode. This is really the only scene he's in, and I don't know why, but I find him so entertaining. I wish he had a bigger role in this one.
Jesus Christ, your face. Billy do that to you?
Uh-huh.
Want me to fuck him up for you?
Eventually, Billy finds Harry and he wants to give him the beatdown of his life like the true bully that he is. Billy wants to unleash that beating so bad that he goes to the extreme, chasing Harry down all over the woods. He also reminds me of the bully from It, that character that has no likable qualities and will go to the ends of the earth to terrorize his victims. He chases him through the night until Harry ends up at a creepy ass farm with nobody in sight, and he finds a terrifying looking scarecrow with a cane through its heart. He takes it out to use as protection, and something miraculous happens.
Help! Help! Let me in! Please, please! I'm sorry!
Not only is he trying to escape his crazed brother, now it seems like the Scarecrow has come to life. I love that random purple lighting, by the way, reminding the viewer, you are watching Creepshow. The Scarecrow is relentless, it's very slow, it's very strong, and it wants to get him. But how did the Scarecrow come to life to begin with? Well, a man used to live on the farm, and he lost his wife after 40 years of marriage, which caused him to experience a crippling loneliness, but one day something called out to him. He had the urge to create a companion that would be by his side, like his wife was. Somebody that could sit next to him outside and just enjoy nature. He began gathering items he found across the farm. As his wife used to tell him, he could build anything when he put his mind to it. He gathered random parts, animal bones, material for a scarecrow, and a heart that his wife had made in the past. Once the scarecrow was complete, it looks creepy as hell, and it just kind of sits outside like a decoration, but it moves. The story doesn't give any real reason why this happens, and I think that's where the best horror comes from. When something unusual happens, but as a viewer, you never get a solid answer, you just have to kind of fill in the blanks with your own imagination. He thinks it might have been the animal bones he used, or maybe his own wants that willed it to life, but again, never a solid answer. Instead of being panicked, he just accepts it for what it is. He wanted a companion, and he got one. Unfortunately, the scarecrow he created was no innocent creature, it craved human flesh.
But as men wiser than me have said, nothing good lasts forever.
The farmer felt so guilty that a child had died because of his creation. He couldn't go on anymore living with the guilt and decided that both he and the scarecrow had to go. He stabbed it in the heart, and then he went into his basement to finish what he started.
Which is why we belong dead. Both of us. My companion and me.
Now Harry knew the scarecrow was a dangerous creature, and it's hilarious when he actually confronts it. He tries to look and sound like a badass, but nothing really happens.
Hey, straw dick! Eat crow.
When he picks up the farmer's old cane, something magical occurs, and the scarecrow is no longer a threat to him. It seems like the cane had some kind of hold over the scarecrow, enough to control it. Taking the opportunity to escape, he stabs it with the cane, and the scarecrow is disabled again. But that wasn't the end of the story. Harry realized that he now had his own companion, and his brother would pay, giving us the lesson: if you're a bully, be careful, because you never know what your victim is capable of. Story number 8, the final tale in this video, Lydia Lane's better half. No Halloween anthology is truly complete without a murder story, or at least negligent homicide of some sort. This is about instant karma. Lydia Lane is a successful businesswoman, and her company has grown larger to the point where she needs to pick a new CFO. Like many actual real-life day jobs, she seems to be a manager that strings along an employee with promises of promotions, and then ultimately chooses someone else. If you worked retail as I did for many years, this is likely something you experienced at some point. Happens all the damn time. Make those numbers and you'll get promoted, and then you'll hear about someone else taking the spot. Well, that's what happens here. The race for CFO comes down to Tom and Celia. Ultimately, Tom is chosen, much to Celia's outrage.
Lydia, I don't know what to say. I won't let you down.
I know you won't. You are one of the best financial magicians that I've ever encountered. So I'm counting on you to keep this new ship afloat.
Celia was under the impression the position was hers. She planned her entire future around it, and Lydia is making excuse after excuse as to why she made the decision she made. She is an extremely manipulative person. Eventually the argument heats up and the whole situation just goes off the rails.
And how every woman on this planet should just run the other direction as they see you coming to stop. You are fucking done.
Where do you think you're going? We're not going anywhere. Sit down. Go! Celia. Oh my God, Celia. Oh my God.
Whoops, she just killed her. And I don't mean she fell down a bit too hard and broke her neck. An award that was sitting on the desk with a sharp end literally went through her head, creating a gaping hole. Celia was not coming back from that, and the entire scene looks like a murder at first glance. Understandably, Lydia is in a full-blown panic. She's trying to figure out how to hide what just happened. It almost feels like a video game stealth mission as she's trying to figure out what to do with the body. People keep popping up to talk to her. She's trying to roll her around in an office chair away from the main office. Everyone's completely oblivious to what actually just happened. And the timing couldn't be any worse. She happens to be in Los Angeles, and the city has been experiencing small tremors, with a fairly serious earthquake on the way. And everything is made even creepier since Celia has her eyes open, so it looks like she keeps looking at her, almost like she's saying, "You did this to me." She finally put Celia in the elevator, and I'm not even sure what she was really planning on doing with her, but I don't think she even knew, and she's just in a panic trying to make some kind of cover story. Although, realistically, the police could probably find evidence of blood in her office. And as she's stuck in the elevator, the earthquake strikes. There's barely any power. She's stuck inside with this dead body that's almost mocking her from beyond. You don't know if it's something supernatural happening here, or if it's just her own paranoia, her own guilt, causing her to see things and hear things. One of the best aspects of this episode is the camera work and the imagery used to convey that feeling of terror. Even though, if you think about it, it's a dead body in front of her that can't hurt her. Celia's body starts doing all sorts of things, like leaning forward, staring at her. The camera work is outstanding. By the end of the episode, Linda is delirious and just wants to get out of the elevator. Emergency services are on the way, but she can't take it anymore. She wants to get the hell out by any means necessary, but Celia won't let her.
Now let go! Celia!
is definitely one of those episodes where the creep factor is fully in play. The mood, the setting, and overall tone is so well done, and it's also a lesson in what can happen if you're not a good boss. So don't promise your employees things that you don't plan on delivering on. They may come back to haunt you from beyond the grave. Make sure you join me next time for Creepshow the Series Part 3, where we dive into the last 4 stories. Let me know how you're enjoying these Creepshow reviews, and what was your favorite story in this video. I will catch you guys later. Since you made it to the end of this video, I assume you enjoyed it, so why don't you go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any new content. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, links in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can join my Patreon or become a channel member. This is Fabian, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.